But like just to mention in case it is helpful, what I mentioned in the message was I had like this experience of the self-realization.
Hmm.
So it was really for me like I had this background becoming the foreground, like it just swapped.
A perception shift.
Yes, it was so, and it was so, yeah, it was so ordinary. Like it wasn't this, it was so, and
Because it's all you've ever been. That that subject object mode was sort of a projection from that.
yeah, and I think what then happened is this was maybe like a month ago or month to two, and then it
Mm.
started to like dwindle. I started to go out of it and had
Yeah,
glimpses
that's the
again of it.
experience coming and
Yeah.
going. Yeah.
And I think that the mind probably like caught on to that experience and was like, oh, whoa, whoa, we need to, what do we need to do to get
Mm.
there? And
Mm.
what can we do about it? And I think over the last few weeks, it was just a recognition of where this takes place, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
And it was when I came across one of your videos
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
and you said, well, that search happens also within that. And all of a sudden it was like there was really subtly this I was there that still was on this search, right?
Yeah.
And when you said that, it was just like I just fell back a bit. And that was really just the initial thing that, because I just resonated a lot with how you were talking about these things.
Hmm.
That it just resonated really much for me to also just fall back in that. And think that's the main thing right now, that there is this I that might still try to do something.
Hmm. There's a potential for an eye. Yeah.
Yeah, and that I hear a lot about integration
Hmm.
and try to be cautious of not leaving that as a back door for an eye to,
Mm. The eye's got to integrate. I've got a lot of work to do.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why that's like a few of the things that have been happening most of the
Mm.
time. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, they're all happening, all these movements, there can be
Mm,
a thought adopted,
mm,
um, an experience of an eye, the got it, lost it feeling, the oh, okay, true nature. Oh, I've fallen asleep. Hang on a minute, who's falling asleep? This whole flip-flop.
mm,
And there's a stabilization. Oh, I've stabilized. But quite often there's a little eye just trying to claim it all a little bit. Of course, this eye isn't an entity. It's just how life can self-reflect in this me, in this narrow view and create an experience of an eye. So it's
mm.
only ever the infinite experiencing. Even if it's experiencing itself as an eye, it's still the infinite being. There's nothing
Mhm.
else. You've never been anything other than that.
Yeah, I guess it just tries a lot of times to take this reference point of
Through
that.
habit.
Yeah, I mean, just of this one experience that I had, and I recall in that moment I was saying, well, how the heck can you lose this?
It's what you are.
it's so obvious. Yeah, and I think, and that's why I'm not sure whether I'm still getting caught up in that a bit of, well, I'm feeling this way now, and you know how you felt that time, so probably there needs to be something happening. But then, yeah, it's I think only yesterday when I heard you say this about it happens within that, and it just got me back a bit.
Because the
Yeah.
movements, the stories, the the appearance of an I, the coming and going, got it, lost it, whatever thoughts, I'm home, and all of that appear within the wholeness that we are. So
Hmm.
it's as if the infinite, we could draw a circle and say the infinite is the circle. You can't
Hmm.
limit it because it's infinite. And it has no, you can't label it because it's what you are. Yeah, and you can't leave it because where would you be going?
Hmm.
And I'm just checking all these things. So there can be an experience of coming and going, but all those movements are appearing within the wholeness. We're just labeling a wholeness for a minute. So it's the wholeness that's that's creating an experience of coming and going.
Hmm.
Um, just because it's got infinite potential to experience this sort of dance of consciousness. It's a dance of itself, appearing within it, but never becoming, sorry. So it appears as things, just like the ocean classic can appear as a wave, but it never leaves the ocean. So there can be an experience of an I, but you're never not the infinite being. So we can just get tangled up in the appearances through
Hmm.
sort of a subject object mode and through attention. So it depends on where the attention is, because
Hmm.
that's how consciousness engages with itself. So if attention is home, there's an experience of home.
Hmm.
If attention is on thoughts, there's an experience of thoughts.
Yeah, I noticed for what when you talk now about it, there was more attention on the thought. It was still as this you, when you said you, it was like this I that tried to come in and say, well, now what about it? It's not that. I know it's not.
Mm. But there's an awareness of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're the knowing of that, all of those movements, all of those potentials, the potential I appearing.
Mm-hmm.
You're the knowing of it, and that knowing isn't an I, or it's the infinite I, really.
Would you say how much is that a process of being gentle and allowing integration as to, well, have a clear look?
So I would go with your own intuition, which isn't this repetitive thoughts. It's more resting in being to begin with. Resting is what you are. So the human experience is one of an expression of the infinite. So now we've got this little vehicle to play in, and we can play just in the lighter modes of wisdom and unity. So attention is home. So that's where there's unity. We're not going out towards subject object, we're just resting home. Immediately there's a relaxation of any sense of needing anything because we're already whole in my home. We haven't picked up limitation. I mean, it's a very subtle limitation, the human experience anyway, from the infinite that just is, but it's experiencing through form. So it's just resting as effortless being, which is just the knowing of the moment. Uh, just allowing everything to be as it is. Surrendering, not needing the moment to be different is quite important
Mhm.
because there'll be thoughts of what now and what next, and surely we need to do something, and you can't just sit here. So it's not that's not doing. There's just this resting as effortless being, resting as what we are. So we're not adopting a doer. And then there's following, getting used to following intuition rather than thoughts based in a me. So they have a different quality to them.
Mhm.
There might be what gave you the intuition to come on the call. Oh, it could be maybe I should reach out. That might be valuable.
Mhm.
There's a resonance. It wasn't right. Got to do that. I must do that. I must call her. Yeah, I'm going to get it.
Yeah,
Snap,
definitely.
get from
Yeah. There
That's the
was,
urgency of the
yeah.
separate self that's seeking, that's lost something, that needs to get something. But what we are, what everybody is this sense of already okayness, impersonal awareness.
Hmm.
So there's no urgency to it. It'll just be following that seems like a good idea. That would be nice. I wonder, yeah, that might be, that just feels like just like a good thing to do.
Hmm.
Just flow rather than shoulds and shouldn'ts. So we get used to, it does take a while, I'm not going to lie. It takes a while to get used to dropping the doer.
Hmm.
I remember having this repetitive thought, what am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? I was watching going, what is that? But it's like we've just got these storylines running
Hmm.
constantly. What am I doing? What am I doing? What do I need to do? What do I need to do? Like, what is that? Oh, oh my goodness. Okay. And then you just sort of feel like you're left here going, okay, so there's just this. That's worrying. And if
Hmm.
you're getting used to, like you were saying, not adopting another little I that's just shimmying in the seat of awareness. I'm
Hmm.
awareness. I'm resting here. If I just rest here, life's gonna sort itself out. We tend to, that tends to be offered up a little bit. It's like awareness gets slightly identified. That's really normal. Um, but really, so the best thing I would say is to have a look at what's actual, always.
Hmm.
Just keep having a look at what's actually here over and over again till it's undeniable. So whatever appears just isn't believed in anymore. So that's where awareness, instead of it going subject object, and then we've got this resting home. So then all forms are arising. David would call it effortless being. David Bingham, you know him. Yeah, you
Hmm.
mentioned David in your thing. So he would say it's all just the forms are arising. For me, it was prior to David, it was like, oh, it's just what's happening. Everything's just here effortlessly. So it's just that very mode of effortless being. But what we can do is also turn towards what's looking, turn
Hmm.
towards what's aware. There's a sense that it all just falls away. And if you got that sense of being able to turn in,
Yeah, you had a really one video where you just said, I think, I'm not sure, it was a video where you said you talked to someone, you pointed it like at yourself.
yeah. I can't remember.
And it's
It worked. It helped.
that was quite, it was really, that was a knowing that I'm resting now, is that it
Yeah.
wasn't,
That you're aware of what's aware.
yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't this, am I now this, is it that?
Yeah,
It was
yeah, because that's the
really,
contrast and comparing. So
yeah,
you let go of that when you turn towards what you are.
yeah,
That's dropped away. That's what I'm saying. All of that's dropped away, the confusion, the
yeah.
offerings, because you're just not looking in that direction anymore. So I found that to be very useful
Hmm.
to just turn towards what I am and to rest there. You could say marinate in being because you're, or awareness aware of itself, or just attend to the self. It's been called various things. Attend to the self.
Hmm.
Even just that sense, I am, just resting as I am. Sometimes that's useful. So it's whatever's useful for you. For me, it was just a turning in. There's
Yeah,
it's
this
undeniable.
this turning in, I think that worked way better is because as soon as I went for this I am,
You can get all of it
it can be the
ready.
be yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
well, what
all
I and yeah, the mind will
or
play with that.
yeah, yeah, or there's like all of a sudden there's a view of point that says
Yes, yes.
I, okay, remember I.
There I am, I.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's valuable to turn towards what you are because it cuts the storylines off
Hmm.
because they're just awareness aware of itself. And then you just rest there. Sorry, it just makes me laugh. It can be that simple. I'm just getting absolute no thing here, no. I'm kidding, I think it's hard to speak really because you've just dropped all the story.
Mhm.
There is just, what we are can't be spoken about when we drop any referencing. We just are what we are. It's self-evident, isn't it? Just is.
Yeah, I mean it's
And then we start to really just notice how delicious just being what we are is. Because we've been fed this story of the completeness, the happiness, the everything you desire is out in the world of duality, but there's no power in that. There's no power in the game of duality, only the power we give it. If we give it the authority to make us happy, well, good luck with that. I mean, sometimes it will, but it'll be temporary. Whereas when we turn here, we're like, oh, everything's already all right. Everything's already okay. The mind might try and come in and say, it's usually if you're sat this way, the mind is still sort of able to engage in the commentary, but when you turn in, it's actually doesn't really have much of a chance to be
y-
picked up.
yeah, unless there's some mild suffering or emotions. I don't
Mm.
know, it
I
was
would say that's pointing this way because if you've turned inward,
yeah.
there is there's no me,
Hmm.
no I, my. How about there's no center? Is there a center? Doesn't matter if there is.
Yeah, I noticed the mind wanting to come in and look for something and yeah.
So just keep the attention in.
Mhm. No, I can't with an
No.
experience. It's
So let's
just
stay with that. So if there's no center, there's no opposition,
mhm.
there is nothing to defend. Can you, oh, how amazing is that? You've nothing to defend. You haven't got to defend ourselves from anything. Somebody's rude, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that was amazing. This just there's a lot more freedom in that, in just being. I don't have to argue or I mean it's just
Little freedom.
yeah, it's also like for me the seeking has quite substantially dropped.
Yeah.
But I thought about this, or this came up today, where I figured, yeah, there's really the seeking has like gone considerably. Like there was, but you could also say, well, still there was this little I still trying to seek,
It's going
or
to get something
yeah,
out of something because the I is based in lack.
hmm,
So it doesn't mean you won't watch videos because you might just be drawn to something and you might just see a bit deeper. Not that's in the game.
hmm,
That's the human experience the infinite is having. It's waking itself up in this game of duality. So there
hmm,
may still be video watching. There may still be, oh, insights,
hmm,
deepenings, all of that. But for that is totally unaltered by all of that. What you fundamentally
yeah,
are isn't even the game. So we just get to see that the relative experience when we turn this way can have more and more awareness in it.
yeah,
But what's looking is totally aware, totally clear, doesn't become anything other than all it's ever been. So we've got this sort of the world of becoming,
hmm.
but you never become anything.
Yeah, that's also what came to me. You said it once. It's like just the infinite self revealing
So
itself to
yeah.
itself. And that felt so good. That was like, yeah, that's exactly, it's just the big self.
Unfolding.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if there's a video that you're drawn to, a new teacher or a new whatever, there's no problem with that. Who has
Yeah,
the
it's
problem?
it's just a
The
different
eye can be a
perfume,
bit like, oh, I mustn't seek anymore, you know.
yeah.
Put that up. And then that's the thing to not do. Well, I'm still
Yeah.
seeking. There's a problem. But there's no center, is there? I love there's no center. I
Hmm.
love it. Because then there's no me talking to you, really, is there?
Hmm.
There's just this appearing as two voices. So I don't know anything more than you know, really. Because there's no center here, there's no center there.
Yeah.
We're just playing a little game of make-believe in the
Hmm.
consciousnesses. And that's beautiful. It's playing a little bit of what's in my cup, what's in your cup, when there's nothing in the cups. My
But
cup's full.
it's so interesting how you're still pulled, or that's for me at least,
Yeah.
was the experience how I'm pulled towards certain things. Like I know I immediately notice when it's from which place it comes, because at one point I was like, I have this book by Michael Singer here, which is like the living unfettered,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I have my girlfriend, she read the other book, and I was like, she dis she described things to me from the book. I'm like, you're perfectly getting it. I don't know what the hell did I read? And then I figured, well, I might just have a read and see, maybe things have changed. And then I noticed after like 2 pages, it just didn't,
Resonate. Yeah.
it was just not, that's just not where it is. It was
No,
just,
it's just not. You don't need it.
yeah. And
It's not that it's not valuable. It's just you're having a unique journey. You're the infinite being, you know, journeying uniquely. So what's valid for somebody isn't necessarily valid for you.
mm,
Different teachers for different people, different expressions. So so that and also what lens are we looking through?
mhm.
We can apply all sorts of conditioning to what we're saying as well. So we might have a thing about not practicing. So then if somebody's talking about practice, we apply that that's wrong and no, they're talking about practicing, that's not right.
Mhm,
We have all these, like we were saying, if there's no center, there's nothing to defend. Oh, there's practicing if you want to practice.
mhm,
There's nothing wrong with practicing. If infinite beings having a unique journey and that unique journey is lots of practicing, well, that's okay.
mhm. Yeah, it definitely had a different, started to have a different perfume whenever, because I was reading a lot previous to this kind of
Mm.
self-realization, but it's now so different. It bears also more fruits. You have more experiential insights. It's more potent in a way.
Or
It's
resting is what you are rather than
yeah, I mean, well, that's a thing. At first, I didn't even know that it was that. At first, it was just a state, and I was saying, well, there's no thought, so what did I do? Why do I feel so great? Like I couldn't even tell why
yeah,
that was.
yeah,
But it
yeah.
was then with every experience, it's like, well, did you notice that there were no thoughts? Okay, well, did you notice this? And well, did you also notice that it's the background, so it's not even the eye? So it's like with every little revelation,
Mm.
it's like something that you sink in deeper into.
And what's experiencing it doesn't deepen. So there's an experience of
Yeah.
deepening, yeah, but that's how it can experience. It can have this wonderful. journey of,
Yeah, but it
I
does.
remember that revelation, what you were saying, the recognition after sometimes days of another recognition. You're like, oh, it's like layers peeling away, it's delicious. And then you go, hang on a minute, what's having this? Oh, what's having all of that is totally untouched by it all. That's just another deepening, you could say, that what's aware of it never, it was never lost and never wakes up. Or that seeker was a mistaken identity
Mhm.
that the infinite was having, limiting itself.
Yeah, also that aspect, the I, like how you said it, that it's part of it for
Yeah.
a longer, like yeah, it wasn't even 2 to 3 weeks ago that I perceived this I as like a different space.
Yeah. So we can have two positions. We've got true nature and the I. Oh,
Yeah.
thank goodness, I'm not the I anymore. Still sort of believing in another position. And then there's the potential to adopt the I. Then there's a potential to, oh my goodness, I'm free of the I. So we still feel like there's these two positions.
Hmm.
Um, but but you can't, but what you are can't leave itself, can it?
Hmm.
You can't leave what you are. So that's just an appearance that can be adopted, but you never become it. It's just a temporary experience.
Hmm.
And really all of the experiences are, but that's why they say awakening isn't an experience, because the deeper seeing is that what you are, yes, can experience itself, but what you are is still has no center, is infinite, and all of these are still subtle limitations we're talking about for the relative experience. So effortless being is a limitation on the absolute, say. So the absolute is attributeless, has no opposites, has no attributes, has no way of comparing itself because it's not a thing that it can compare itself with.
Hmm.
So that is our fundamental nature. That's where the I drops. There's this sense of the first expression you could say is I am. Then there's the I am story, which is the ego identity there. I am separate. And then we walk back home from that, and so there's the infinite I am. But then that drops into the absolute, which is unmanifested, has no attributes. So it's worth hanging out there too. It's what you are, but attention. That's where there's no center. And then we can just lean in and have this human experience, but awake to the fact of what's having the human experience is the infinite. And then so it's a subtle limitation, but the limitations are one of unity, love, unconditional. So for the I, the separate self I experience, that's conditional love. If you behave, I'll love you. If you're horrible, I'm not going to love you. Whereas he is unconditional. You just find yourself
Hmm.
falling in love with people in the supermarket. You can't help yourself. Um, so it's just one of unity. But it's spontaneous as well. It's not, oh, that person's so beautiful, I'm in love with them. It's just completely random,
Hmm.
spontaneous, just very, very random because it's not caused. So it just appears.
Hmm.
There can be a fragrance of just unity or love or, it's so hard to label really. And that, or just, that there's no opposition.
Hmm.
There's nothing to defend.
Yeah, that one was super freeing. That was.
So you can keep recognizing that.
Mhm.
And then there's knowing here the right thing at the right time. Mm, there's no urgent, there's no lack here. Infinite being, effortless being. The key is effortless. We're
Mhm.
so used to efforting. It's getting used to relaxing. I
Mhm.
remember just going through a stage of because we're so used to forming, and then
Mhm.
it's a habit to identify with form because it's experiencing itself through
Mhm.
form. We just get to recognize we can notice both at the same time. There's an experience of a physical body, but there's also it's sort of transparent.
Yeah, I found so much more detachment the last few days. I wouldn't say it's just more of a there's just so much more space to
Mm.
it. You're not so into it in a way. You're not that much affected.
Yeah, you're
It's yeah.
untouched by what's appearing, but you're not disassociated because that would be separation, that would be
Yeah.
avoidance. I mean, that can appear, that can feel like such a relief not to be in the game of duality that you just think, I'll just hang out here for a while. That's quite normal. That happens. And that's
Hmm.
where the sort of identification with the awareness happens because you just think, I don't want to enter that game of craziness.
Hmm.
But eventually you can sort of recognize, oh, hang on a minute, there feels like there's an I here. There's some sort of identification. Okay, that's interesting. So, and some sort of division being created.
Hmm.
So, how about leaning in and being totally okay with the game, however
Hmm.
it's appearing? Is it okay if there's anger arising or sadness arising or frustration arising? Can we be okay with that appearing?
Hmm.
Don't have to adopt it, don't have to push it away, don't have to, the craziness of politics, all the things that are appearing, we're not ignoring them. You tend to then have compassion for everything. You don't join the game of hate though.
Hmm.
You don't get all angry and upset and attack the things, the people that seem to be doing the bad things and you,
Hmm.
you sort of there's just compassion for the whole game, for the innocence of the game, for how life can innocently believe itself to be separate when it is the wholeness. So
Hmm.
there's such compassion. It doesn't mean that you just let people do things and you no, because there's wisdom. But that sense that there's no center.
Hmm.
So there's no agenda. So then it becomes equal. And I think then if you've got no center and I've got no center, then there's just the chance for just harmony and for life to unfold however it's meant to be. We're not creating, I've got to help you. It's almost like we're just saying hi. It's the infinite being talking to itself. And there can be things unfolding, there can be clear seeing, there can be deepening. It feels like just a beautiful dance, just a
Hmm.
beautiful unfolding, a harmonious movement of consciousness experiencing just because it can.
Hmm.
And I know once we've adopted this lens of a little me, God, we've got all sorts of ideas of why that shouldn't be this way, and life shouldn't be appearing that, and that's terrible. And so that's why you don't, we've all experienced things like that. So we don't dismiss it. We have compassion when somebody's talking like that. From that point of view, they're right.
How would you say with regards to emotions, um, how has it been for you? Because I notice, especially yesterday, after watching one of your videos, I mean, it just started to go crazy in there, or it was so violent for my attention. And for me, that's usually this. I used to handle it way more differently. It was more of this I trying to, what do I do with this now?
Yeah.
And now it's more of a pointer to just
Yeah. The contrast can appear to so that we can see more clearly what we are, can be used in that way.
Hmm.
So say there's an experience of being very contracted. So there's the seeing of the contraction, even if it was adopted and experienced by infinite being. We can rewind and go, oh wow, what was happening there from the
Hmm.
broader view, not from still identified. So that was interesting. There was all that contraction. There was an opposition. There was a center that was defending. And that's also interesting. The simple seeing of it, it gets more and more effortless to see through things because we're not so invested. It gets so effortless. It's sweetness itself. I can't quite describe because it's so subtle. It gets more and more subtle. That's what it is. So at the beginning is this, okay, so there's this happening, but what am I? Well, I'm okay because this is totally free. But so what was that craziness? So we do all of this. And then, okay, so there's nobody suffering, but there was suffering. So we sort of look at the two things, do a lot of that for a while. And then it just gets more and more subtle. I mean, I feel the fact that you couldn't find a center is pretty subtle already because the whole game's up if you can't find a center, really. So you could probably just use that when anything ever arises. What's it rising to? Something,
Hmm.
yeah. We're not denying arising, but
Hmm.
it gets so sweet because it's just it becomes like a ripple on the ocean or the lake,
Hmm.
texture of experience. So then there can be even guilt arrive about the texture being,
Hmm.
and then but that guilt is so subtle, it's seen and it dissolves. Everything just starts
Hmm.
sweetness, but in such a beautiful, subtle way.
Hmm.
Um, that it's just incredible to watch.
Hmm.
That it's actually quite sweet to see it, to see the because it's like a fragrance rather than
Hmm.
a. It's so subtle. It's I can't even try and remember because there was something fairly recently that came up and there was guilt came after it. But I just watched the whole thing and it was so beautifully seen. So there's the seeing of it, but no seer. Whereas before, so what I what we can do is we can feel like, oh, we've got to include everything because there's no duality. So we've got to include the whatever it is. You know, a lot of people say meet it, include it, dive right into it, all of these practices. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But there's also the chance to see, well, what you are is doesn't have a center. So who's meeting it? You know, I think it depends on where you're seeing from, what lens, you know, if there's still some subtle meaning, then maybe it's valuable
Hmm.
to see it on that level. But it can reinforce the eye.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, so for me at the beginning, I had a foot in each camp. I didn't totally push away doing any processing. But I also had some intuition I didn't need to do it. And I was like, I'm not going to give it up. I feel like I probably don't need to do it. If you recognize what you are, who's actually doing it anyway? So I could see these two things playing out. So I never was invested in it. But I could see it was seemed to be quite valid anyway. So then what's there a problem with it? So I don't think there is a problem with it. But there comes a time when all practices are not needed.
Hmm.
So at one point I felt like I had all these stepping stones, these things that I used, and they just dropped. And I was like, whoa, who was using them? Where was I going with those? What was I doing? It's
Did
nobody
it just
here.
happen spontaneously? Was it just at
Yeah,
one point? It was
it
just
just
like,
all dropped one time. Because the thing is, they're quite valuable because I've used them for people. You know, the opening of the focus and the resting back in the body and dropping down, I
yeah.
just recreated, you know, when the subject object drops, when the
Hmm.
background becomes
Yeah.
foreground,
Yeah.
because it's a flip, I
Yeah.
called it a flip. So I sort of see things in shape. So I just copied that shape. I saw that I was doing this and
Yeah.
I was doing that. So I just said, oh, so it was a flip. It was a recognition. It was a remembering of what I am rather than a forgetting. So this remembering is a leaning back, is an opening up, is a dropping down. So I just spoke about it that way. And if ever there was
Yeah.
that sense of being caught up, I would just remember the movement and go, hang on, well, what's actual? Oh, I never was the I. So it was valid until it wasn't. And this, you're seeing these two positions. I could see this falling asleep and waking up, and yeah, it sort of, they all dropped in one go. It spontaneously dropped. And I was like, oh, I don't need any of those. But they're quite handy if people are very identified. It's a
Yeah, I
good
love that analogy when you had that you also brought up people became when people become aware of this entire play, like that they dive even deeper into
and
it.
again. Yeah.
And
So it's
that
the infinite being doing it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like even you're going even further into the
Yeah.
game.
So, oh, what a game in there. Oh, how interesting. I
Yeah.
mean, no, don't get. Oh, no, you're in. You're in. You've had
Yeah.
it. It's going to spit you out in a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's still, even when you're in, it's still the infinite being. I think
Exactly.
that's the
Yeah.
important thing. Yeah. Because people feel like, oh, no, I've lost it because the I is adopted, by the infinite being. And it took me a while to realize that there's only the infinite being playing. You know,
Hmm.
we experience what we're projecting in. It's not the I, because a lot of people then blame themselves.
Hmm.
There's nobody being blamed for, because it can be like, oh, so I'm creating my reality. Oh, I'm doing it. It's all, I'm getting it wrong. It's no, it's not that. It's just the filters of perception have got these conditioning that's been adopted that can still play out. And
Hmm.
like you were saying, they can actually be quite valuable because they get you to go this way.
Hmm.
So, well, this is appearing, but it just wasn't being believed in anymore. But why is it still appearing? I was like, so that does tend to play out. Something is still appearing, but you're not believing it. But why is it still playing out? And they'll just be potentially just quite subconscious. But what it does lead to, it leads to you seeing on a bigger scale. So that's where I was able to see that there's the wholeness.
Hmm.
So the journeying home and the already home is appearing in the wholeness. It's the wholeness that's experiencing it.
Hmm.
Whereas it can be that, oh, so there's the spiritual journey and then there's the waking up and that's it. But the deepest thing is all of that is appearing in that a bit like the movie screen is unaltered.
Hmm.
So it's not a bad thing. Like you said, it can cause us to look this way.
Hmm.
Um, it's just silence now. So I don't know if there's anything you want to ask.
I think the only thing that the mind is still clinging onto is when you mentioned these revelations, or that you were also at one point maybe chasing them a bit, and then you noticed, hang on, I think there's just a uncertainty sometimes whether this is the path.
What path?
Yeah.
I'm trying to find a path or something I can talk about with you, but it's not letting me limit anything.
Yeah, that's normally that's also an answer in a way, because it's like you don't need to entertain that. You could just
Yeah, already home. And in fact, never left home, never ever left home. It was all just an appearance, all just a movement within that never leaves home. The path is for the one that's in the becoming, the world of becoming, which
you're
can be experience, which can be lovely. Falling asleep and waking up is a lovely experience.
Mhm.
The flip, the subject object drop is within the game. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just that you get to see from the absolute view and the relative, knowing that but you don't fall asleep to the relative. But I'm not saying there's not the potential. I'm not saying there's not going to be something huge that's going to tempt you back in. It's usually, this is what David Bingham says, and he's usually right with everything. I don't take everything he says to be true, but that usually ends up being true. But he says the last few, there's the potential to get a couple of really big ones, which is what happened for me, for the experience that infinite being is having. It's be clear. And it's usually the opposite of what you are, you know. So I had some big lack ones come up, and it all appeared. It's the relative experience. It was all appearing,
Mhm.
and I think it just pushes you to see what it pushed me to see was there's no power in the game. I was still believing there was some power within the game, and if
Mhm.
there's a subtle idea that if I rest as effortless being, then the game will sort itself out, which is
Mhm.
actually true in a way. That's why it's a bit tricky because this is a field of infinite potential. So there's a potential to rest and the game get better, but the game is
Mhm.
an up and down game, a roller coaster ride game. So it can appear good and you can appear to manifest and say everything's wonderful, and then you can appear for it to all fall away again. But there's no power in that game. Can you see that there's no power in it? We believe there's power in the game.
Yeah, but it's very interesting that you said that because there is this subtle belief of if something happens, that there is some sort of entity or energy behind this that is now exercising this power, or also with the mind.
So from the relative view, there is, but
It's
it's
also, yeah, it's also sometimes with regards to the minds that the thought pops up of, oh, what if, well, it just came up. It's for it to come up, it coming up means it's powerful, it's gonna take ownership of the entire thing. And it's just with gradually, I, I can just see how that's not the case.
yeah, yeah. Because how can it have any power? Because we're the infinite being.
Yeah.
So we give it the power because there's nothing other. That's one thing to remember. There's nothing other than this here, the infinite being.
Yeah, that was one of my first moments that I had an insight with David Bingham when he said, um, I don't know what exactly he said, but it was something along the lines of what you just said. It's basically that you have decided to put your attention on that and give it the energy.
Yes, yeah.
It's just,
Because it's got no power, independent power. So thoughts don't have any power without our attention. Let's just even take a thought. Doesn't have any power independent, does it?
mhm,
How can it have any? It's not an entity. It's a
mhm.
thought appearing. So it has no power until attention goes towards it and adopts it and says, yes, that's true.
But have you also experienced it that it happens like really fast, that like almost this identification came right with the thought?
Is it more like it's an emotional grip? Like it's seized you, it's got you. Is it that way? Notice that before.
No, it sometimes it's the thought first.
The thought, yeah, quite, I always experienced it as a thought first. So when people said, yes, but what about the grip? What about the emotions? And I was like, I always think it's the thought and then but once I recognized it was like, so that was an emotional grip for me. And I was like, hang on a minute. Ah, that because it's been adopted, you can't find your way out. And it was actually a really valuable thing because now
Hmm.
I know what people mean when they mean emotional grip. I'm like, I know, and it feels like there's no way out. And
Yeah.
really, the only way to deal with that is to rerun it afterwards because you will get spat out of that
Hmm.
eventually. And then it's to go, okay, what was actually happening?
To not go into in during that moment, to just let it.
Well, if it's got you hook, line, and sinker, you're picked
uh,
up a story, you're just spouting stuff, you're in fear, you're in panic, you're calling people, you completely adopted the entire thing. It's just got to run its course, I think.
yeah.
And then look after and go, oh, oh, how interesting. So people always talked about this. I didn't really know what they were talking about. And then I did it, and then I had it, and I was like, oh, okay. Now I know what they mean. Because it's like, but you were talking about, sorry, let's just go back to what you were offering. There was
Thought, I think.
thought. Oh, do you mean it's like the thoughts are coming so thick and fast that they're slapping you in the face? That this
Yeah, it's just like taking it as, yeah, it's just taking them for what they are. Like, yes, it's this way. And
Yeah,
it happens so quick
completely
sometimes.
blind to it. I think you have to rerun it afterwards and have a little look. That's where, I mean, we can look now and we can see there's nobody running it.
Hmm.
There's no entity, there's no I doing it because we can't find a center. But it doesn't mean it's not valuable to look.
Yeah,
And then it doesn't mean that what appeared is wrong. I think that's really valuable to see.
yeah,
That it's okay that what appeared is to be okay because the I wants to get rid of it, wants to fix it, wants to change it, wants to
definitely,
improve
yeah.
it. Yeah. So we don't have to adopt that. I think that's where any sort of processing gets a bit sticky. So yeah, I think life is quite interested in how it can fall asleep and wake up to itself. So it likes to have a little look at how it did that. It finds it quite
Hmm.
interesting. Oh, how interesting. That's what I used to get. How interesting. There was an adoption. There was a, how interesting. So we do it from this, from wisdom, basically.
Hmm.
Oh, how interesting. What even was that? So I recognized not that long ago, that because there was extreme stuff appearing, that I'd slightly separated the relative and the absolute.
Hmm.
I was like, oh, okay. Even though I know it all appears within it, there was some subtle, but it led to something so beautiful. That's why it's all actually all perfectly fine
Hmm.
because it allowed me to see that even the relative. So if what I am is in total harmony,
Hmm.
that sense that what you are is just absolutely fine. Just delicious is one word I use. It's just totally delicious when we're just turning towards what we are and we're not adopting anything. And then if the relative is appearing within us, it is the deliciousness.
Hmm.
It is the already okayness. It is the total harmony already. And it's just through beliefs and ideas and concepts that we're separating all out and saying that's good,
Hmm.
that's bad. It's very hard to see once it's adopted, and it's not something I would probably say to people who are really suffering because it's doesn't
Hmm.
seem fair. But if you've got a chance to see how delicious you are,
Hmm.
what everybody is, what we all are, is totally delicious. It's totally harmonious. It's only the relative is also harmonious.
Hmm.
It's not, that's why I think people can say it's perfectly unfolding perfectly, That's how it's wants to unfold. So I think David says something like the being doesn't mind how it all appears, doesn't have a problem with any of it because it's here to it's infinite potential. And I always saw it on a scale, it can experience itself in all of these ways of unity and separation. So it's
Hmm.
all okay. So I think I just noticed because there was something quite strong appearing, and And there was a subtle, if I rest here, then it'll get better. I could see that was happening. So I was like, oh, I'm just separating out the relative and the absolute. There's
Hmm.
nobody resting and making that better. But what there is there's the power. The only power the relative has is the power I'm projecting into it. And it depends on what belief I'm adopting, I'm pushing that power through.
Hmm.
So that's sort of, I could say, is what the experience is now, just recognizing no matter what appears in the relative limited view, I just don't adopt it. The lines, I feel like all the lines of all the storylines just have chopped. I have to got to repair them to try and
Hmm.
got to recreate them and get some tape and they're just not here. It's not to say it can't appear, but I just can't find the connection. I
Hmm.
can't find, like, if you can't find a center, there's nothing to defend.
Hmm.
So there's nothing to attach those storylines to, really. So it is literally the moment unfolding and the spontaneous. Because if you walk around with no center, it's just what's unfolding, isn't
Hmm.
it? There's no, I think that's the doer dying when there's no center, really doing anything.
Hmm. Yeah, that's quite a beautiful point.
Yeah.
For me, it's like I've been really grateful because for this call, I received like a lot of gratitude all of a sudden for these things that are coming up because you've given me the perspective as to how they're part of it and they still help you to understand better who you are.
So they're almost a gift.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's gift, life's gifting itself these
Yeah.
things to see deeper, to experience in these richer ways. That they're only a problem if we make them into a problem, if we
Hmm.
feel like we've got to get rid of them. Yeah,
That's beautiful.
it is, isn't it? Yeah. Hmm. And then there's an intimacy because there's no separation. So there's life's intimate with itself. That makes sense.
Hmm.
It's intimacy itself. It is intimacy.
Hmm.
It's not two things being intimate. It's just intimacy because there's no center. There's no moving away. There's no inside outside. So you're not avoiding life. You are life.
Hmm.
And then the movements and the are all just this anyway. I think I just did a call at the weekend called Never Not This, and it sort of sprung to mind just then. That it's never not this. All of it
Hmm.
is this. Just fits perfectly. It's never not this.
Hmm.
You know that you can't find anything but this can't really be pinned down. Yet we are it. So it's beautifully unspeakable.
Yeah.
But you see, the mind, when people recognize this, the mind, because this mind is still a point of reference, a relied on, a reliable point, it's their go-to. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's their safety mechanism that it says this is boring, doesn't it? It says, because I remember that. For
Yeah.
years I did that. I would rest, be in complete nothing. And then the mind would go, well, that was boring. I think you best have a glass of wine and some crisps because that's really boring if that's it. So off I went to find happiness somewhere else. But when we're not giving our authority over to the contrasted comparing mind that's based in me, a chance just to explore how delicious what we are is. And it's as if it reveals itself then to itself, offers
Exactly.
itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. The intimacy, how, I mean, you could be sat at a bus stop, not care about the bus because you're just so fascinated with what you are. Because it's fascinating, but not in a getting something, not in a, oh, I must. And I have to say that that can appear, there can be these recognitions and these things, and then the mind will go, oh, I must just write that. Oh, I must hold on to that. I must share that, and it's fruitless because
It's not alive.
it's a limited, yeah, it's a limited version of this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I felt about the book. It's just not, I mean, while the book itself might have been alive, but it's what you're doing with it to trying to get something out of it through the words and intellectualizing that was not, that didn't feel alive.
But but it could resonate for somebody
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
for
definitely.
another unique expression. Yeah. And like your girlfriend was getting really quite powerful insights from it that you went,
Yeah, I told her even, I was like, I'm not sure you should read that to be fair, because some parts are a bit too lengthy and they're focusing on this. And then she cited me basically things that from the way she framed it, it's like if she's like done all the 8 years that I've done of seeking in like 2 weeks. I'm sitting here,
yeah,
what the hell did I read? What was that?
amazing, isn't it? I just had a conversation with my mum who's 85 and she would come to stay. So I'd had a call and she said, oh, how did it go? And I was like, oh, yeah, it was fine. She said, were they happy? And I was like, yeah, yeah, they were happy. She said, well, that's the main thing. She has no idea what I was doing. So she said, just tell me exactly what you do. Like she was really, there was no way of getting out of it. She wasn't like, oh, what do you do again? No, it was like, tell me exactly what you do. And I was like, okay, we're going to have to be really, well, I didn't even adopt anything. I just knew it's got to be as plain as possible. I was like, are you aware of thoughts? Yes. So I said, can they just have this self-perpetuating looping going on that you feel like you get lost in them? Yes. I said, but you're aware of them. She said, yes. I'm like, okay, what's aware? And she said, oh, well, I said, what is that? So she wasn't quite sure. I was like, what is aware? So if you're the awareness of them, what is that awareness? She said, well, I think I'm quite a nice person. And I was like, okay, yeah, 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 that's good. I said, but can you see how they're thoughts again? She's like, oh yeah. So I said, so if we don't go to thoughts, what's the quality? What actually is that awareness that's aware of the thought? She was just space. It's just peace. I was like, it must have been about 3 minutes. And I said, so everything's okay there. Just what you are is totally fine. She's like, yeah, it's just peaceful, it's just fine. And I said, and then there's the option of adopting thoughts and suffering. She's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, that's pretty much what I show people. She's like, oh, so that's fine then. I'm already sorted. I'm like, yeah. So obviously, there are still some, I didn't need to do any more than that. That was
Yeah.
enough. I mean, that was it really.
I almost operate from this point of view that other people know this already.
But in a way, it's right because it's the infinite. Everybody's the infinite being, so they all
Yeah,
do know.
but
They all are aware.
it's so quick. I'm just seeing people. I'm like, oh yeah, they're
Like
all
you
amazing. They're
see
doing
in
good
their
stuff.
eyes, you see that they're awake. You see
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah,
You get a flash and you think, oh, they're awake.
yeah. I'm like, oh,
Look around.
they also they
Yeah.
know it. They're totally here. But
But it's probably because you're now seeing the truth of their being rather than their conditioning.
yeah, it could be, but it's just so I need to catch myself sometimes to really say, oh well, maybe they don't know. Or is it it cannot, I mean,
But then you'd be believing that their beliefs, somebody's, let's use Donald Trump. I don't know why, but let's use Donald Trump. Okay. So, he very much seems very animated in the character role. But we've got to believe that.
mhm,
So if he's believing he's Donald Trump, the character, doesn't know his true nature, then we've got to enter in the game with him. There is only the infinite being.
yeah, it's just so surprising. It's all of a sudden
We would
like,
have to
yeah,
believe the lie he's telling himself as well,
yeah,
that he's lost. And you see, we would then have to enter in the game of believing he's lost. I'm
mhm,
not saying he's not having an experience of feeling lost and feeling in lack, so he's got to control everybody and dominate the world. But he's a great wake-up call for us all. A world leader and acting
mhm,
in such a very contrasting, comparing way. I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's because is it part of the harmony?
mhm,
Is it is that the harmony? Because it has to show itself in contrast.
mhm,
It has to have these degrees of separation and unity. So everything is possible, but it's only the infinite being appearing as all these potentials. It's only when we
mhm,
start weaving a story about it. So if we're going to look at the manifested world and how David points to it and what seems to be being seen here now, I have to adopt that narrative,
mhm,
pump it into the play of consciousness to keep it going because there's no power in it, is there?
mhm,
So if we collectively believe it's a crazy world and these crazy people and these people are bad and they need to be thinking in the, if are we keeping the narrative alive?
mhm,
Because if they've got no power, are we giving the big institutions and the people who seem to be in power and making decisions that aren't necessarily for the whole, seem to be very helpful for the few. Um, are we keeping that narrative alive? If we
mhm,
believe it and we are angry about, because can you feel when we're adopting a belief and we're pumping energy into it?
mhm,
It feels
mhm.
draining, doesn't it?
Yeah,
So David calls it it's an energetic game.
yeah,
So a belief is being believed in. So is there a collective belief that we're all just signing up for? We're all
mhm,
subscribing to that there's evil in the world and that we've got to conquer it and we've got to. I'm not saying that's not appearing at all, but are we almost all creating it
mhm,
innocently? I'm not saying there's anybody at fault, but are we innocently creating it
mhm.
through believing it? And if we pulled the plug on it all, we all just wake up and go, oh, hang on a minute. Because it's a field of infinite possibilities and it's the energy is being pumped into it, then there are all these possibilities. And if we're still believing them, then they're still appearing. I don't know. I don't know. There's something that seems to be coming to light now. And
That's good.
it's quite interesting. It doesn't seem to show up anymore when you stop believing in it.
Mhm.
I'm not
Yeah,
saying it's not appearing, but it doesn't seem to be in my face.
yeah. It's like a lot more detachment. Or you
Yeah,
might
but
not
not
be,
from a pushing it away,
yeah, yeah, it's
from
just,
not from disbelieving, not from avoidance or
yeah, it's just from a
just
neutral
like
standpoint. It's
just
just,
can't yeah,
yeah.
because what we are is neutral. So it we have to adopt that sort of judgment.
Mhm,
We have to adopt that. And it's not laziness or, oh, well, you don't have a point of view anymore. I think what tends that it's spontaneous. If
mhm,
something's wrong, there's going to be a spontaneous, powerful um, correction or
Hmm.
boundary. I know I've noticed that for myself, but what's so lovely is there's an outburst and then there's no trace of it afterwards. You know,
Hmm.
if you've adopted it and you're annoyed and that how dare they, you've got all that energy and it feels awful and you've said something quite bleh, and then you've got the guilt and then you've got the feelings of it all afterwards. Whereas something shoots out, you think, "Whoa, what was that?" And then it's gone.
Yeah.
There's no trace of it. Like a
Yeah.
firework went off, but there's no trace of anything left. And you're like, oh, and everybody
Yeah.
seems to have rallied round after what you've just said. So,
Yeah.
so it was just necessary in the moment.
Yeah, definitely. I had this with my brother once that
Yeah.
when I experienced initially, that was one of the maybe half a year ago, where I was in this state of no thought for like 3 weeks or something. And I was at his place and I was trying to fix something on his computer. And I needed some information from him, and he was just somewhere in his apartment. I don't know, maybe he was watching TV or something while I was there taking my time to help him. So you might as well
Mhm.
be next to me. And it just shooted out of me almost in an angry voice. But there was, as you said, it just
Nothing.
came up spontaneously. It was nothing personal.
Yeah.
It was just the appropriate kind of message came out.
You took notice.
And he immediately came over, but it was so I couldn't believe it.
So
I was
fresh.
surprised myself. I
Yeah.
was like, this is so great. There's no self-judgment. It was just the
Yeah.
perfect response,
And
no
they're not
judgment. Yeah.
upset. They're
Yeah.
not upset. It's just,
It was
it's,
it
yeah,
was
it's
so,
funny.
I was so flabbergasted. I was there. Wow, what the hell did I just do?
Yeah, because there's no trace of it, but there was you know how fast and expressive it was.
Yeah.
There's no trace. There's no sense that you did it as the character.
And then
It's
there's
quite
a
funny.
mind coming in. What did I do? And trying to
Yeah,
figure it
yeah,
out. It's
yeah.
not, it
It's already
doesn't work.
gone. It's
Yeah,
already
it
done.
doesn't work
Yeah,
that way. It's just,
yeah. And there was no identification with it because it just
it's,
came and went. I think that's how children operate.
yeah,
You know, they get very angry with their friend, and then 2 seconds later they're playing with them again.
yeah.
So, you know, they don't identify with it. It just
Mhm.
flies through. Was there anything else before we finish?
No, no, I'm sorry. I've already
No, don't say sorry. I've
gone
been
over.
chatting away. We've done all sorts of stuff, so it's not your fault at
Now,
all.
for me, it's all clear. It's been this
I mean,
bit
so how long since you sort of feel like there was the recognition?
month and a half.
My goodness.
Yeah,
But there was, but things like it just blowing through, speaking to your brother, things like that were happening anyway. I mean, obviously because you're already the infinite being.
she also
So
came a bit
was there some sort of identification still there even when the flip happened?
when the flip happened in that
Yeah, so
moment.
with the background, yeah, foreground background switch.
No, it was just this flow of life.
Yeah, and equanimity, everything was
Like,
neutral.
yeah, it was just, but it was so beautiful to be part of it almost. It was not like someone was separate from it. It was like all in one.
Yeah,
And thoughts were just so redundant. It was just so much in the background. It was just,
and everything, whatever you were doing was easy. You know, if you're in a I remember 5 hour traffic jam. I'm just like totally fine. The whole car's pissed off. I'm like, well, it's just traffic. And I'm
yeah,
like, oh, for God's sake. I'm just in bliss. Yeah.
yeah.
But I just felt like there was something still some sort of it was the name I hadn't I'd identified with the name that my parents gave me. I'd identified with that as a
Yeah.
child. So
So
although
when
the
you
bit
heard Collette, was it there like a strong,
no, nothing strong. It was like some sticky label, like
aha,
a sticky note on my face.
okay.
I was like, there's something here. I don't know what it is. There's a sticky label or something. Something so close. Not quite sure what this is. And it was just when David said, what you are has never changed. I was like, yeah, well, I know that. And he said, well, that's your true nature. And I was like, oh, so the Collette was just a label. Oh, of course. The parents gave true nature. My parents called my true nature Collette, and I believed them. And I then adopted that name and everything that came with the name.
Hmm.
So, yeah. So I just needed that pointing out
Hmm.
just to sort of, because, I mean, it, in a way, it didn't because it was blissful anyway.
Hmm.
It was everything was just spontaneously arising. There was no problems. There was things happening, and it was all just like, oh well, that's just what's happening. It's not good or bad. It's just what's happening.
Hmm.
But yeah, for me, there's no center. That is just so delicious.
I think 1 week ago or something, I looked at my name, not as in I, but I looked at the mirror, and there was kind of a joy coming up.
Mm.
I don't know, because it was like, oh, that's not me in a way. I don't know why, but that's how I would say it was. But
Describe it, yeah.
it's just, yeah.
I suppose it's been sort of something that's been claimed for so long, been had some sort of gravity to it,
Hmm.
and now it's sort of more just sort of interesting.
It's a word.
Yeah. Oh, I'll switch the recording off for you.